Okay, now that my object's grouped into two bits, I've got a base and a glass top. All I have to do now is apply materials. You can see in my perspective I've already got some materials, so I'm going to show you how those materials came about. If we go to the materials editor, up will pop the materials editor dialog box like so. And what we can see here is we can see a semi-gloss black and a ray trace glass material. Now, I'll start with the semi-gloss black. How I got this material is by selecting one of these palettes, and the palette is scrollable, by the way, so there's a lot more materials here than what we can actually see. So you can build a palette with this pretty much endless materials on it and just keep adding those materials to a library. But the very basics would be we select a new palette, a new part of the palette, we give it a name, we select the shader type. For now we're going to stay with either Phong or Blinn. I'm just going to stick with Blinn. And as we get further into more advanced materials, we'll talk about the other types of shaders. What we're going to do is just leave all these basic parameters alone because we don't want a wire, because wire mesh will do what we see here. We don't need to worry about two-sided because we used basic primitives here and we know that all the normals, all the faces are going to be looking at us. We don't want a face map, and we don't want a faceted. So we just want to leave it just the way it is. Okay, so let's just go beyond the basics. And we're going to look at the basics for the Blinn parameters. What we've got is ambient, diffuse, and specular. Now these three colours control what we see here. Specular is the lighter shade just here. Diffuse is the next band of colour. And ambient is this colour here. Now how it works is, specular is like a shiny spot on the material. Diffuse is the colour you would get if you held a bright light right up against a material. And ambient is the colour you would get if only ambient light was hitting your object and not any direct light. So for us to make a black, sort of a matty glossy black, we would need to change our ambient colour to be a little bit darker than that. Probably push it into the black. A little bit of blue is probably not going to hurt it. Our diffuse colour can also be down there. Like so. Then what I did is, in the next area, the specular highlight, I picked up the glossiness of the object. So I made it the specular level a little bit brighter so it's a bit shinier. I made it a little bit glossier so that the specular dot was a finer dot. And I turned up the softness so that the dot would bleed a lot more. So I've made a very basic material there. Now these other areas here, self-illumination and opacity, we're going to leave those alone for now. They're a little bit beyond the basics of materials. And we're just going to play with these settings here to get the base colours. So once we've gotten a base material, we select our object or groups of objects, like so. And we use this option here, assign material to selection. So I hit that and I now have a new material assigned to my object. On my glass top, if I just assign a basic material, we'll see it changes. Now, how I got the glass is I got the glass from a material library. And we can get to material libraries through this option here, Get Material. So I press the button, up will come the material map browser. I then tell it that I want to use a material library, so I browse from material library, and here we can see a list of materials already loaded into my material library. Now this is a very basic material library. What we want to do is go and grab a ray trace library because I know there's a lot of glass materials in a ray trace library. So I hit open, up will come the open material library dialog box, and then all I have to do is find an appropriate material library. In this case, ray trace material 1 should be the appropriate library. And here we can see a list of ray traced materials. So if I scroll down this list and I start to get into the glasses, I can then select any glass that I'm interested in. Blue glass, clear glass, green glass, basically whatever I need. Once I've found the glass that I'm interested in, I then double click on it and it'll load it into the palette. So I'll just do that again on a clear setting. Loads it into the palette for me. Once that's done, I then select my object and apply my material to the object. So there's two basic ways. One, getting a material from a library. Second, making a very basic material. So then what we have to do is just do a quick render just to see what we've got there. As you can see there, I now have a rendered picture of a basic black table and glass top.